Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Born from Sin. I hope that you're doing very well this week. I hope that you had a fantastic week so far. Today's episode is called Happiness. I was talking to my husband the other day, and I was talking about gardening. And I'm very big on gardening, always have been, especially since we've owned our own homes. And a few years ago, we had a new neighbor move in, and she's made things a little difficult for me to be able to enjoy my backyard and to just enjoy gardening because it's what I like to do. I have a few things in my life that make me extremely happy, and gardening happens to be one of them. So a few weeks ago, I was actually talking to my husband, and I was actually telling him that I was thinking of not putting a garden in this year. And he kind of looked at me and went, "Why? Why would you not put a garden in?" And I told him because I've been very bummed out by the situation that's been going on with our neighbor, and it's put a really heavy toll on me. And I sat there thinking about it after I spewed those words out of my mouth. And I thought, why am I letting somebody else who I don't know control my happiness? There's absolutely no reason for that whatsoever. And then I sat there and I thought to myself, why would I let this woman that I don't know from a hole in the ground not allow me to do something that makes me happy and brings me joy? So I've decided that this year I'm going to put in my garden because I'm not going to let someone who, I don't know if you want to say she's pretty miserable. She's my Karen. You ever have one of those Karen neighbors? Well, she's my Karen neighbor. And I'm not going to allow a woman who's pretty much the age my mother would be if she were still alive talk down to me or not allow me to enjoy my backyard this summer. This is the first summer since we've moved here that I'm going to be able to actually fully take care of my garden because I'm working from home now. So why would I not want to be out there enjoying that? Why would I let this woman take my happiness away from me? There's no reason for it. When we were kids, sometimes we had no control over, that happiness being taken away from us. So a good example, there was a Midway in town, and I really wanted to go to the Midway, and everything was all set up, and we were going to go to the Midway that weekend. However, life threw a curveball, and I ended up with appendicitis and ended up in the hospital and having to have my appendix removed. So, kind of took my happiness away, but I had no control over that. This I have control over, and I'm not going to allow this bitter, I call her bitter, woman to control what I want to do. So this year, my plan is because we ended up having to tear down the whole setup that we had last year and redo a whole new setup. I'm going to start indoors this year, which I've never really done before. So it's going to be exciting and new. Um, so that way there, because we have very short planting seasons here because of it being New Brunswick and we have cold winters. So I'm going to start growing indoors like most people out here do and see if my garden will actually take off a little bit more this summer. So I'm really excited about that. The plan is because again, life is about to take a new twist for us. There's going to be, you know, more cooking for me personally um, than anything else. So, my plan is that I wanna be able to grow as many vegetables as I possibly can and use the vegetables from my garden to make my meals, so that way there, it cuts back on our expenses on having to go to the grocery store. We used to eat very plant-based and very vegan, and I'm not going to fully go back to being fully vegan or plant-based right away. I still like my bacon. I like cheese, I like yogurt, so stuff like that will not be necessarily plant-based or vegan, but I'm gonna start incorporating a lot of plant-based meals back into my diet, which is gonna help me, again, lose some weight because I'm putting weight on and it's not good. I have been very good about, not eating chocolate. It's been a week since I've had a chocolate bar, so congratulations to me, and I'm still happy. So that's even better. I have been getting back on track with, cooking meals at home and, doing things that make me happy because we should all be happy. We shouldn't have to live our lives miserably, like, no reason for that. And if we can include all these little moments of joy into our lives on a daily basis, all these little happy things, these things that make you happy. For me, like I said, it's gardening, it's cooking, it's my family, it's doing my podcast, it's creating new recipes. I have a lot of different little interests that make me happy, and I've been very much paying attention to making sure that I include these things in my life daily now because it's important for me to hang on to my happiness. It's not something I was able to have before. And I gotta tell you, at the age of 53, it feels pretty freaking awesome just to wake up and just appreciate life. Just appreciate having another day to be a better me. Just to be happy, to not have to put up with the neighbors' BS next door and just plant my garden and grow my own vegetables because life is expensive and I don't want to have to go to the grocery store all the time. I grew up in a world where the farmers used to drive around, and that's why you got your groceries. There were no grocery stores until I was probably, I'm gonna say, like 7, 8 years old, or none that I remember anyways. I don't remember ever going to a grocery store, to be honest with you, until I was 12, and we were living in Ontario. I think that's the first time I literally remember going to a grocery store with my parents. We always ate everything from the farmers, like, everything from, our potatoes, carrots, onions, all of our vegetables, our eggs, our milk, our meat, like everything came from the farmer. Everything was all natural. Everything was grain fed. Nothing was sprayed with crap that's out there nowadays, and I want that back in my system. No, I don't own a farm. If I ever want a lottery, yeah, I most definitely would. I wouldn't have a big setup or anything like that, just enough for, my husband and I to be able to feed ourselves, and my animals would be animals. I would not be, I would get the milk from the cow, the eggs from the chicken. That's it. I wouldn't be producing more animals to provide us with meat and stuff like that. Not something that I'm interested in, but I am very interested in having, a couple cows so that I can, have some milk, fresh milk, and have fresh cream and all that awesome goodness that I used to have when I was a kid because that's what I grew up eating. That's what my body knows. That's what my body is used to having, and that's what my body needs to make me happy, to make my insides happy. So we are working on all sorts of happiness. So my question to you today is, do you have someone toxic in your life right now that's ruining your happiness? And if so, what are you doing to correct that? Let me know, and we will talk again next week. Take care.